Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Todd Rodden. I'm a certified business and executive coach. I own Aspire Action Coach based here in Southwestern Ohio. And today we're thrilled to have somebody who's really a leader in the application of AI technology, especially working with businesses to drive growth. And that is Mike Bell, who is the CTO and co-founder of Scheduler AI. I think you're going to find this fascinating discussion. Folks, most of us have questions around AI and practical uses and how can we take advantage of it in our businesses. Mike's going to share you a great example of that he and his team are in the early stages of going to market with. So, Mike Bell, welcome to the Business Spotlight. We're thrilled to have you. Take a minute, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit more about Scheduler AI.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Really appreciate you having me on. So I think, a little background about myself. I was always a big code person before this. A little bit of an entrepreneur by accident. Got into this like a lot of founders do by needing to solve my own problem, right? And the problem at the time was my wife and I had young kids, two careers, crazy busy jobs. We couldn't find time to meet with our friends. And I was like, this is ridiculous. We were driving home from church one day and Maddie, my wife and co-founder said, I should just be able to add people into a text chain, tell it to find time for us, and something should make it happen. And I think that there was so much simple beauty in that idea that really sparked this that I wasn't able to let go of it. And so, we're a number of pivots later, but really, this whole company was born out of the idea that finding time starts with a conversation, not with a calendar. It starts with context. Who's meeting? Why do they need to meet? When do they need to meet? And then something needs to be able to go and handle that, right? When we look at the future of the world, we're like, people, you and I sitting there going back and forth for 5 emails asking when it works, or one of us shooting like, calendar links, which doesn't really even work in a group setting. There's a better way to do that. And with artificial intelligence, there's just no excuse for creating a better way, which is what we've done. We'll talk about how, in this episode, we've really extended from that core functionality. But at the end of the day, that's a lot of what we were born around, right? Is that meetings start from conversations.
So maybe kind of build upon that, and where you're at in terms of the owners out there who are watching this podcast series. Like, where's a great example of your tools could come and solve a big pain point for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, if you're a business owner and you are driving any type of revenue from meeting with your customers, that has to be facilitated in some way, right? Maybe people are coming to your website. They're trying to figure out what you are about and whether or not they should book time with you. You need to be starting that conversation as soon as possible. A lot of people talk about speed to lead, but we talk a lot about speed to conversation. Right? If someone is on your site, you should be starting a conversation with them. More specifically, you should have AI starting a conversation with them because you can't be on it 24/7 because you're running your business. But not just starting a conversation, right? Like you think, Todd, there are like so many web chats out there, right? Like, oh, I'll put intercom on this. I'll do something with it, right? And all it does is it captures something and says, we'll get back to you later. That is such a missed opportunity. If someone is on your site and they have interest, you need to be driving them quickly down a funnel to figure out if they are a qualified buyer and when they can meet. Similarly, right, if somebody's coming in and they're filling out a form on your site, or they're attending your webinar, or they were on your podcast, or you met them at a networking event, right, those are things that need to be followed up on very, very quickly. Like these, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort to drive interest in your business. And so many business owners are doing a great job of driving interest, but then they're dropping the ball at the 5 yard line by not following up on these leads, right? And that's because it's hard. And somebody said this one time, and I thought this was really brilliant. He was like, you can do marketing part-time, right? And you can let that message resonate. You can let it drive traffic. You can do those other things, but sales is 24/7. And the minute somebody shows interest, if you're not ready to start that conversation with them, you have missed a real opportunity and you're sending them on to your competitors. So that is something we can really help business owners with, or even if they're not using us, they need to be using somebody. If someone shows interest, if you finally get a chance to capture that demand, you need to be looking at the best tools for your business to make sure that that demand actually gets captured and then it turns into meetings you can use to close into revenue.
Yeah. Hey, that's great. That's so powerful. In today's day and age, people have such short attention spans, right? They expect a seamless experience. And again, if you have any friction, any holdups at all in the process, yeah, you're going to lose them. They're going to go on to the competitor, or they're just going to say the heck with it, right? And you've lost
100%.
all that good work you've got to get them to you. Goes up in smoke.
And it
So
happens fast. I mean,
yeah,
MIT's study showed, I mean, I forget what it was, if you don't follow up in the first 5 minutes, just like the drops. And that was like 10 years ago. Pre-TikTok, pre-endless scroll. Like, yeah, attention spans are near zero. You need to be capturing demand in real time.
so are there, as you look at your ideal customers right now, are there any certain types of industries, kind of, certain, what are the best market fits for your capability?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been through a series of pivots, and I think what we finally realized, right, is the teams we serve, I'll say who they are and I'll say why, right? B2B revenue teams. So if you are selling, you know, a product to a business, and recruiting agencies, because really when you think about it, rather than selling a product, you're selling a job. And they all need to do a few things correctly. One, they need to engage with people, just like we talked about 2 seconds ago. They need to engage with people the minute they show interest. They need to qualify them, right? There's a reason that a lot of companies have pulled back from just putting book a demo, like links and calendar links straight on their pages, because they get a lot of unqualified leads, right? So you got to engage people, then you got to qualify them. Then you got to route them to the right person on your team, right? So starting to sound like a lot. Then you got to book them into the meeting. And then this, just because you get a meeting does not mean they're showing up for a meeting. So you need to be able to remind them. You need to have something that can reschedule seamlessly when things follow up. Then once you get to the meeting, right, just like you and I are doing now, you need to be able to record that, because I can't remember every detail in here. And then I need to actually like do the follow-up from that meeting, right? So any team, right, that needs to engage quickly with leads, qualify them, route them to the right person, book the meeting, hold the meeting, record the meeting, do the follow-ups, and book the next one. That's who we work best with, and that tends to be B2B revenue teams and recruiting teams.
Right. And those are wide markets. That means there's a lot of teams out there that could benefit from these capabilities. So,
No doubt.
right. So talk about generating more growth. What have been your best marketing avenues? How are you generating those leads into your business?
Yep. Right now, we're doing a lot of, most of our buyers are on LinkedIn. So for us, LinkedIn has been the channel. We are members of the SaaS Academy. I encourage everyone out here, if you don't have a coach, get a coach, because, they've really helped us to just realize, right, we've skipped a lot of steps. So for them, it's like, figure out your core channel, unlock that core channel, and then stack the channels. So for us right now, we're always producing content on LinkedIn, but then we are doing targeted outreach. So you want to talk about another AI tool? We use Persona AI. So if you're not familiar with Persona, you might have heard of Clay. If you haven't heard of Clay or Persona, I encourage you, pause this, go Google that, right? Because those are incredible tools that allow you to do segmented market research. So what we do is we pull together a list of companies in Persona. We segment those companies by, things like revenue, by things like, do they have book a demo on their form? Okay, if they have book a demo on their form, are they capturing phone numbers? Because if they're capturing phone numbers, somebody's dialing to follow up, and we know that we can outreach those people with text message. Then we can go find people at those companies, right? So I can say, hey, this company did over 20,000 site traffic last month. They have book a demo on their form. They're capturing phone numbers, and so somebody's following up with them. And then I can go into that and actually segment it and say, okay, again, using a tool like Persona, is this person active on LinkedIn? Have they posted in the last 2 months? If so, I'm going to outreach them to LinkedIn. If they're not there, then I'll score them through something like Titan X, which does phone scoring, right? So I'll pick up the phone and cold call people who like to be called, right? If they have a high pickup rate, I'm going to call them. Anybody else, I'm going to put on an email campaign. And then I'm going to make sure that the minute that they respond to one of those emails, my AI is all over it, right? Because again, they've shown interest. So for us, it is a mix of, inbound from just generating content, but also, I mean, like, look, we're, I think, in a day and age with sales where you almost have to be doing both, unless you have like just an insane community or audience of your buyers. You've got to be generating content, and you've got to be doing outbound, and you got to be using tools to do both, because especially as a founder, we're doing founder-led sales. Your time is just insanely precious.
kind of going back a little bit on thank you for sharing that, by the way,
Yeah.
on the AI theme in terms of small businesses out there. I still think, there's a lot of kind of hoopla, a little bit of hype, but in general, as I talk with lots of business owners, just still confusion of, I'm not sure how it fits to me. It's mostly a big company kind of thing, right? So maybe share with us what you see as kind of some of the misnomers and where are smaller businesses kind of missing the boat.
Yeah, we have a few people who are almost one person businesses who come and use our product, and so they see one thing, they're like, for me to scale this, I either need to hire people or I need to figure out how I'm going to have certain what we would call micro tasks scaled to get that macro impact, right? So either you have to be responding to every single web chat that's coming in your door, or you need to hire a person, or you need to hire AI, right? So what I would push every business owner on is what are those, again, I'll call them micro tasks that have a macro impact, right? Okay, yeah, maybe you missed two site visitors yesterday. But if that adds up to 60 over the course of a month, that was 60 potential people you could have been selling to on your site, right? If you're sending out, hundreds of marketing emails and it's like, oh, okay, it's okay. I missed that one reply, right? I'll get back to that guy and it's 5 days later. Again, he's gone, right? So just really like being very clear when you're doing your business mapping of where are all the points, right? And I know Todd, you do workshops on this, right? Where are all the points that this is breaking down on process? And then asking the really hard question of like, is this something that really requires a human or is AI good enough? And if you go to buy an AI good enough tool, book a demo and make them actually show you the product on the demo. Like not a staged environment, not a sandbox environment. If you like, for example, you sign on for a demo with me, we're going to build you an AI agent live. We're going to test drive it live. And if they don't have that level of confidence in it, you shouldn't have that level of confidence in it on your business. Right. So I think it goes both ways. It's, push yourself, but then push your vendors. Like if you're going to evaluate somebody, evaluate them really hard.
Good. Great advice. You mentioned already previously, hey, it's been a sequence of pivots, right? You talked about even the origins of the concept to where you are today. Maybe share with us what's been, one particular roadback, a block that stands out, and how you overcame it. What would you learn from that experience?
Yeah. I mean, look, we were all in on being a consumer business when we started, right? Going B2B was not the dream when I first started this business. And, I think really you've got to, again, like people say, you got to fall in love with the problem more than the solution. So when we finally had to kind of, put down some of that other side of things, it was saying, okay, can I actually fall in love with the next problem here that has a market? Because if you can't fall in love with the problem, it's going to be a really tough road, right? So when we think about like what we're building and why we're building it. It used to be, right? Like, hey, let's remove all the friction to finding friends, time to meet, right? And that was great. For a variety of reasons, it didn't work. But it is still very fulfilling for me to say, hey, we got a consumer face to face with someone who has a solution that they really need, who they might have otherwise not had that conversation. Right. So like I still believe very deeply in that when we think about AI, humans are going nowhere in the buying process until AI starts to be the buyer, right? At the end of the day, sales are made human to human. So being able to remove the friction still between two people who are qualified to meet with each other, right? They both have something to offer on each side and letting them, focus on one another because we can take the notes, we can deal with those details, right? You focus on the person ahead of you. You get that meeting with the person in front of you. You focus on the person in front of you. Like that's actually very fulfilling. When we see businesses growing, who are adopting our tools, and especially, we tend to serve the kind of SME market. I mean, that's really cool. When people pull up their HubSpot dashboards and they show me, look at my deal growth since we implemented that, like that's an incredible feeling. So again, I think just to go back to that, right? Like even that pivot, it was like, okay, can I fall in love with the next problem? And if I can, let's keep going.
Great advice. Folks get caught up in shiny objects and solutions, right? At the end of the day, people pay you for the problem you solve. Right?
That's right.
So that's a lesson looking back at prior challenges. What's the biggest challenge ahead of you right now? I'm sure it's where you're at. There's probably it feels like a lot, but what one is keeping you up at night the most?
Yeah, I think it's just It's just always one of those things, right? Where when you see the world a different way, you want everybody, like it's almost like taking, the red pill or the blue pill. And you take the red pill and you're like, okay, hold on. I see the world differently now, right? Like how do I get as many people as possible to, like why do you even come on the podcast? Why do you do things like this, right? It's because you're passionate about like the world can be seen differently, right? So for me, the thing that keeps me up is just like, how do I get even more people's attention about the way this really needs to be done, right? You might say, all right, Mike, sounds like marketing. It's like, yeah, kind of, right? But like, it's more than that. It's how do you really kind of shape the market's view of how this problem should be solved, right? Again, going back to the problem, not everybody needs to hear about pretty shiny solution, though they do. It's everybody needs to realize, right? Until they wake up to their problem, they're not going to care about my solution, right? So I think the big thing, right, is just educating the market. And, like, again, you said on this, right? Oh, maybe AI is just for big companies. No, it's not. It is your unfair advantage if you're competing in a market with a lot of other small companies, and it's the only thing that's going to let you not be swallowed alive by your bigger competitors at some point, right? Like it may take 5 years to materialize to that point. It may take longer, but I truly believe that, right? And every small business owner I talk to who's not really thinking critically about this for their business, I worry for them for the sake of their business.
So, what, a little over 3 years in now?
Yeah.
What's your longer term vision? Where you see this down the road, 3, 5 years from now?
I mean, look, we're venture backed. So, when you take venture funding, you are on a certain growth trajectory that you have to hit. So we are aggressively, going after our targets there. I mean, look, if you care about a problem this much, right, you're not content with it to stay in a small corner of the world. So for us, it's to continue to grow. Like, I mean, it sounds very trite, right? But like it is to continue to grow with these sales and revenue teams. There are other angles we can take, right? There are other markets we can penetrate. But I mean, really, I think the next 3 to 5 years, it's because how do you, like when people, I mean, when people say things like, "Oh, how are you different from Calendly?" Right? And it's like I feel like I have these conversations, and I'm like, "How does this sound anything like Calendly?" But if I think about like 3 to 5 years from now, when people are like in my perfect world, it's, well, how are you different from Scheduler AI? I mean, because they kind of handle all of this for me, right? Like that's where I want the market to be. It's like how I already have these guys. Why, why would I need to move into anything else, right? Because that shows true product market fit and it shows customer love, right? Like that's where I want people trying to unseat us in 3 to 5 years. Not us trying to unseat other people, but they're actively chasing our tails.
Okay. Yeah. When your brand is the name for that type of solution, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we have brought the market around to our way of thinking. We have significant adoption, and now it's other people trying to chase us into the space. That's when I think, you're like, okay, I've got it.
So, how do you think about team in your environment, especially being still a newer stage company? How do you attract and retain the best talent?
We've got an incredible team right now. We have 6 people full time that are just absolute rock stars. I mean, look, again, I'll take it back to SaaS Academy, right? And why you should have a coach. There is a right and there is a wrong way to do recruiting. We ran a very tight process for this last round after we raised this last round of funding. And, for us, we decided to go full stack engineers in-house. So, that was the technical choice that we made. And we were uncompromising on the level of talent that we were willing to take. And then, now past that point, right? I think for us, what we found is working very well is we have 3 major focuses on the business right now. We have our go-to-market, we have our model quality, and we have kind of the second version of our platform that's making it much more self-serve and even easier to use. And putting pairs of people on those problems, right? Like that nobody is going to the front lines by themselves. So my co-founder and I are leading go-to-market. My number 2 at Nielsen, who was my first hire, and one of our other growth and ops person are all in on model quality together. They're partners. And then we have those 2 new full stack engineers, right, who are just lockstep together on building that platform 2.0. And having a partner to hold you accountable, raise the bar with you, and kind of again, when you have an uncompromising level of talent, it's a really fun time, right? It doesn't mean it's an easy time, but for people who are high achievers, they want an environment like that. They want someone to make them better.
Great. Right. Really to get the top talent. I love the word you used, uncompromising, right? Sometimes folks settle, you know, the urgency to fill a chair ends up causing downstream problems for
So
a long
much.
time. Yeah.
We had somebody tell us if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no
Yeah.
when you're evaluating talent. And I thought that that was just a very helpful measuring stick. We had a few people who were really wonderful, and we were like, is this like truly like a full body hell yes? And we had to be honest with ourselves, and we were like, no, and we passed, and it was a great decision.
So, Mike, lots of other obviously entrepreneurs pay attention to this series here, especially several that are kind of earlier in their stage as well. So,
Sure.
what advice would you share with them based on the lessons learned you've had on your journey?
Uh, if you're a technical founder, go to market is harder than go to product. So be ready for it. You're going to have to start that journey earlier than you want to. Your comfy place is going to be writing code like mine was for the first 2 years. That's not what's going to grow your business. My co-founder told me many times you are not going to build your way out of a growth problem. And she's been right. So that's the one side. And then I'd say for the business founders who don't have a technical co-founder, um, I would, if you're building a technical product, really push hard to find somebody incredible. You are probably not, unless you have done it multiple times, going to be able to outsource your vision. You are going to need a really strong right hand um, to do that. And if you are a team that does have both of those things, I would say value the other person more than you value yourself, right? If you are the product person, value your commercial person more than you do yourself, right? Ask them what they need. If you are the commercial person, value your product person. They are very hard to find if they are good, right? And I think that kind of covers off the combos that I have there.
I love that because there can be a tendency, and maybe it's a little bit bigger company tendency, but you'll see a little bit of tribal kind of aspect of you get the go to market sales marketing people, the technology people, kind of in different spaces. And it's like, no, you got to have them arm in arm marching together. So,
Arm in arm, man. They've got to respect the heck out of each other. And, I think if not, try to get the person on the other side just to see how stinking hard it is. But hopefully you can skip that step,
yep.
and just go ahead and appreciate them.
All right. So, Mike, as we get close to wrapping up here, what are the best ways for folks to stay connected with you and to follow the journey with Scheduler AI?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're most active out on LinkedIn. Connect with me, follow the company. We're Scheduler AI. Again, we're not hard to find. We're just literally scheduler dot AI. Made ourselves pretty easy to get to there. And look, if you're looking to scale up the next side of this journey and you want to take a look at something that's not just talk, that actually works, where you can get on a demo and see something that, you know, isn't just hype. We're definitely here for that. But even if not, just would love to connect out on LinkedIn. Just cheer people other people on their journeys. I mean, I'll tell you, Todd, I used to be like a terrible fan, I feel like, and becoming an entrepreneur and just realizing how difficult this is now when you see people succeed, it makes you a fan like nothing else because there is very little harder than starting a business
Yeah.
from scratch.
Yeah. You see all that they've had, even just a glimpse of all that they've had to overcome to get to that level, right?
100%. Yeah,
And
dead on.
so as we wrap, building upon that, what are you inspired by today?
Man, I'm honestly like I will say my wife, co-founder, like does inspire me the most. She just is all in for, the people that she cares about, whether it's our kids, whether it's this business or me, or, like when I really think about like, I'm definitely inspired to wake up and do a good job because she's all in on it, with me. So, anybody who's going to do this journey, you've got to be doing it for someone and something else bigger than yourself. If you're doing it just for yourself, I mean, maybe that will work for certain people. It wouldn't work for me, right? So I will say it's been her faith, in joining this journey with me that just has been a huge part of the driver.
All right. Well, hey, Mike, thank you for sharing your journey, your story, a lot of lessons learned, and a lot of market insights with our community here today. So, to our viewers, we're thrilled to have you join us. Encourage you to hit that like button. It helps us feed the algorithms here on our side as well. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so you can receive future messages from other compelling, interesting, and inspiring entrepreneurs like you heard from Mike Bell here today as well. And I especially encourage you to go check out their capabilities. Go to their website, www.scheduler.ai. Connect with them on LinkedIn. I'm telling you, there's lots of opportunities in all of your sales channels, and these types of capabilities will help you close more. So with that, I hope you all have a terrific day.